This podcast is sponsored by our SA Rock and Metal Fans Facebook page.
Strap yourself in, because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
How's it going, man?
Good, and you?
Invite me to a thingy.
Hey?
That's absolutely classic. I love your email, man. Invite me to a thingy.
No, I'm actually, despite what people believe, I'm actually quite lousy with technology.
That is amazing. I can't believe that for a second.
Yeah, well, I try, but it's not my forte in life.
Well, let's jump straight into that then, because Metal4Africa and the Winterfest. Dude, that was a hell of an undertaking.
Yeah, you're telling me.
How was your soul after that?
Wrecked, man. But I think, to be honest, it was kind of, all right, granted, it was super stressful, but it was also super fun. Forcing ourselves into that situation where we had to learn all those new skills. But yeah, stressful as well, obviously, because, we've got this reputation of high quality live shows, and now we have to try and deliver that in this new format. Oh, it was scary.
I mean, talk about diving in the deep end, man. Bloody hell. I thought, maybe almost like a gig kind of thing, but then there was how many bands?
What, for Winterfest?
Yeah.
I think it was 9. It was 9 in total.
But it's all the extra stuff in between as well, and to sort of, I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see how that was done.
I'm not sure you would be here. Flies on the wall might get swatted just because we're so stressed. You know what I mean? No, it was quite funny. It's we had a plan, but we had no experience. So on the day of, we actually had a situation where we set up my home as a headquarters. And we thought that our planning was kind of, sound and stable. It's most people would have a room that they could go into so that they could be isolated using microphones and stuff like that. But once the show got on the road, we were having so many issues with the internet. And we'd done an upgrade on the line at my home weeks in advance. So we thought we were ready.
Yeah.
But then on the day, the stream was a bit buggy, and then poor Nathan, our sort of technical guru, or at least to the rest of us, he's a guru. But otherwise, he's just a dude also trying to learn the way.
Yeah.
He's every device off. No one on the internet except for the computers that are doing the stream. So more than half of our team was actually rendered useless for the whole event.
Wow.
So but no one could teach us what to do or how to do it. We had to just figure it out, just jump in the deep end and sink or swim, I guess.
Yeah, and now you're doing it again on the 30th of Jan for Summerfest 21. How are the preparations going for that?
Better than last time. So it's last time there were aspects of it which we could call a great success, and aspects which we could admit were a failure.
Right.
But I think for having done it our first time, we can at least celebrate the successful aspects of it. And that's obviously what we will build on, and we'll learn from our mistakes. So, one thing we learn is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Rather than having one centralized headquarter, split your team up, actually, because there's so many variables, so many things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
And having everyone in one place to do the event, would have its benefits, but we've learned that it can actually be a greater liability. So there's one great big lesson, but I think also just the devil is in the detail.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of details which we couldn't anticipate, which this time we can. One of the mistakes we also made was, our choice of platform was twofold. It was Twitch and it was Discord.
Right.
But because we wanted the festival to remain a social affair, because that's what the over all these years, that's what it's been to us. It's been an opportunity to really get together and see your buddies. Like the live music is just the catalyst.
Yeah, no, absolutely, of course.
So to do online, we're like, well, we have to preserve that magic, that essence, which is why we chose Discord, because it's a great platform for doing exactly that.
Yeah.
But we put all our eggs in the Discord basket. So when we were publicizing Winterfest, we were just telling people Discord, Discord, Discord.
Right.
But the overload on that server was brutal. So we had Twitch up and running. That was always part of the plan, but we didn't want to tell people about it because we wanted everyone in Discord. But this time, we've learned, just tell the people that the live stream is on Discord and the live stream is on Twitch and the socializing is on Discord, because I think people having that choice will give them a better end experience.
Yeah.
Because last time we had tons of people just stuck in Discord. They only heard about Twitch then, and they hadn't been familiar with Twitch before, so they let's rather stay in Discord. So yeah, that was a bit messy.
And it's funny you say that. Sorry, it's funny you say that, because I did exactly that. I was like, well, I've never heard of Twitch. I mean, I've heard of Twitch, but I've never gone on it. No, I'm not going to do another platform. I'll just stay here.
Exactly.
And I had a great bloody time. I really enjoyed it anyway. So
Good.
It was really
good. Because I think what we've learned about doing the live festivals is that a good half of our crowd is there to only watch 2 or 3 bands. The rest of the time, they're there to see their friends, feel like they're part of this community, and really just engage with each other.
Yeah.
And I think those same kinds of people really enjoyed the online experience because it felt so like a normal get-together, because they could see all their buddies and hang out in the little chat rooms and whatnot. But I think for the real diehard music fans, I think Winterfest was probably a bit of a letdown because of the confusion between Twitch and Discord. Because trying to watch the stream through Discord, for a lot of people, it was a very buggy experience. Yeah. Whereas if they'd stuck with Twitch only, it would have been much more smooth and consistent.
What about YouTube going live on that? What does that entail? Is that not really a server platform for that sort of thing?
No. We can use YouTube. And in fact, we did debate quite a bit about which platforms we should be using. Right. And there was even a lot of argument, why not just use Facebook? But the reason we avoided Facebook, I suppose, had a knock-on effect to why we also avoided YouTube. And the point is, we really wanted people to feel like they've come somewhere unfamiliar. Kind of like if you do go to a physical event, you arrive at a venue, and we've been using a venue which is unknown to the metal scene, and it's only us who uses it for metal shows. The rest of the year it's like a DJ club. Right.
Okay.
So for the online experience, we were like, if we try and do it using Facebook, there's too many distractions. People are in Facebook and they're going to behave the way they behave when on Facebook.
Right. Makes sense.
And
yeah.
And perhaps similar if they were on YouTube. There's too many notifications and things that can urge you to click away.
Yeah, get distracted.
And once you've clicked away, you're not really part of the event anymore, are you?
Right.
Like, your mind is not there. So we tried to create that feeling of you're coming to join us and you're going to spend the night with us.
Yeah. I think the upside of it all is that for someone like me who I don't get out a lot to go to gigs or anything like that, because I live a fair ways away from Cape Town. But something like this, I would have never have heard any of those bands if it wasn't for Winterfest, and it spurred me on to get in touch with them. That's how I got in touch with Ash at Truth and Its Burden, and
Fantastic.
got a podcast with him, just through the socializing aspect of it, and listening to the music for the first time. Never heard this stuff before. In fact, Forsaken Fate was another one. Never heard their music either.
Yeah, and they're cool, eh?
Alec is awesome, man. They're just so rad. I mean, everybody was just so rad. It's just like, it is like going to a venue. At least it's your ears can survive the evening at least.
But I mean, this is the thing, really. there have been some people that have said, why are you bothering with the online thing? It's never going to be the same, blah, blah, blah. But, if we look at what Metal for Africa is, what is my mandate in terms of the organization and what our core work is supposed to be? It's not actually about doing festivals. Like, we were never a festival company or events organizer. Like, the reason for our existence is to be a news website. And the reason for having that news website is to bring the word of African metal to a more global space. So I think with the online concept, we're actually really tapping into a fresh side of our mandate, which I'm almost feeling gives us more relevance than we've had in the last 3 or 4 years. Because, like a news website where people come and read articles, like, that's kind of like a bit of a relic of the past.
Yeah. So
this situation is forcing us to actually evolve in a way that we have to evolve.
And it's all thanks to COVID.
Ironically so.
Ironically so. Yeah.
I mean, we've been discussing how can we bring an online element to our events for years already.
Right.
But to be honest, the work that goes into doing a physical festival is so much that it takes 6 months to do. And we've just never really had the time and clarity of mind to dedicate to learning what the whole online universe entails.
Right.
Until COVID.
Yeah.
So, with the physical event off the table, it's like, well, now we could actually put all of our thought and energy into learning this online universe and how to try and harness it.
Is there going to be a marriage between the two, a live gig and streaming it?
Well, you see, this is something we started talking about a lot immediately after Winterfest, but because we did believe that the pandemic situation and the laws in place to mitigate that would relax at some point.
Yeah.
And we'd kind of thought, well, by the time Summerfest comes around, probably we'll be able to do some kind of limited physical activity. So it was never part of our plan to try even and have live music on a physical stage by January 30th. That was never part of our plan. Yeah. But what we were wanting to do, and what we had indeed done, is we kind of built up a network of venues in various cities where we were going to host watch parties. So people could still, like metalheads could still come together physically and hang out, but in, limited numbers within the safety parameters of social distancing and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And our hopes for that was, should it be successful, that paves the way to actually maybe do live music at multiple venues around the country as part of the same event.
Damn, it's the next Live Aid coming in.
Yeah, dude. They had
it right, didn't they?
Jeez. Yeah. Well, there's so many ideas for possibilities that we wouldn't have considered before, simply because we had too much work before to focus on doing what people know we're good at doing and so on.
How do you focus? Sorry, I was just going to interject there quickly and just, how do you focus with so much that you've got going on?
Oh, it's tough, eh?
It's called
I'm not
caffeine.
going to lie. No, I'm not going to lie, but the last 6 months have been brutal.
6 months?
Brutal.
I think it's been longer than that, man. Looking at your bio and everything that you've been involved in. And just on your Facebook page, I mean, alone, just what you're involved in there with Mind, Soul, True Believers, Metal for Africa. Bloody hell, man.
Yeah, no, I do wear too many hats. That's a fact. But I think, a lot of that stuff, I've been doing it for such a long time that it doesn't require that much mental energy to maintain each of those things, each of those irons in the fire.
Yeah.
The really difficult part is when you have to reinvent several things simultaneously. That's a killer.
That's when you start juggling.
Yeah, dude. I must admit, when Summerfest is done, I'm going on holiday for real.
Wasn't there something after Winterfest? It was nobody heard from Pat for a week, and or
Yeah. But I'm talking
a whole
like
weekend.
Yeah, like I'm talking a month at least. Like I don't want to
Yeah,
hear
I'll
anything
believe
about.
it. I'll believe it when I see it, man. When I see these
Yeah,
vacation photographs, then I'll believe it. I don't think you can
fair
step
enough.
away, man.
No, I think my vacation will be here at home,
Yeah.
hugging a pillow.
Crying in a corner.
Yeah. As one of my friends, old Louis Dupisani, likes to describe, like crying in the shower. That's
No one
something
can
he
see your
would do a lot.
tears.
Yes, he would do that a lot during the years of his MK Ondergrond and Wacken metal battle. Like he got a lot of shit. Uh,
Jeez,
and he would
yeah.
tell me he would just go and cry in the shower.
Clean away the shit and
So-
have a shower. There we go. Shame. Jeez.
Yeah,
No, it
I
can't be
think I'll
fun.
be doing a bit of that from the 1st of February.
No, I reckon what you'll be doing is you'll be planning Winterfest, man.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not holding myself to that.
That's a great segue because I want to ask you. You say it takes a fair while to sort of get this in motion, and as soon as the Winterfest was finished, you started already thinking about Summerfest and getting that going after a weekend at least. But what happens now after Summerfest? What happens then? I mean, seriously now, are you going to start thinking about it? Not necessarily planning, but thinking about the next festival?
Well, the
festival?
truth is, I'm usually thinking a whole year ahead.
Yeah.
But we have made the decision in the last week, and you're the first person, and obviously your listeners are the first people outside of Metal for Africa hearing this.
Right.
But we've decided we're not going to even attempt a physical event for Winterfest.
Right.
And I think a lot of that decision has to do with, I mean, I'm not going to lie, we are worn very thin, mentally, emotionally, physically, because I think the hardest part of the last 6 months has been the unknown factor. I mean, when we made the decision to do Winterfest 2020 online, it was kind of hard because we had to learn all this new shit.
Yeah.
But it was difficult. No, sorry. It was easy in the sense that we made our decision and we just had to do the work.
Yeah.
Whereas the last 6 months building up to Summerfest, we've had to be thinking on our feet every week. Plans have been changing every week, constantly shifting goalposts, trying to gauge what's happening, with the pandemic and the law, trying to gauge what's happening psychologically with our community. I'll be honest with you, it's just been too much to handle, really.
Sure, absolutely.
So for Winterfest, we're just going to stick with the online format, save ourselves a lot of the stress and strain. But because to be honest, if we tried to keep our options open, I don't think we're going to make it.
Right.
As a team.
It's just too much, yeah.
Yeah, we're already kind of nearing the verge of burnout. So if we
I'm
try
not
and keep
surprised you're
our
not
options,
there already, man. Bloody hell.
maybe we are.
You're running on empty, man. On
Yeah.
fumes.
But I do believe that if we try and keep our options open for Winterfest coming up the way we did do with Summerfest, or tried to do with Summerfest, we're not going to make it.
Right. Okay.
So rather consolidate our strengths, work with what we know, and even if by that time, because think about it from a vaccine point of view.
Crazy.
I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that we're not going to have live concerts again until the vaccine is readily available to anybody who wants it.
Yeah.
And I don't see that that's going to happen within the next 6 months.
I can't
It's not
even
to
see
say
it
it won't
happening
be
for the
around.
next year.
Exactly. It's not to say that it won't be around, but until it's readily available to anyone who wants it, I just don't see live concerts taking off again. Not at the scale we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're spot on because, people, our international listeners that listen to my podcast are going, well, what's going on in the country? Why don't you have vaccines? Well, it's politically wise. We're not going to get into it, but suffice to say, there isn't any money left.
Yes.
And we'll just leave it at that.
It's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while. Yeah, it's going to be at least another year. I think 2022 is when things will hopefully start sort of coming back. Well, Pat, putting on
Yeah.
an actual physical Summerfest or Winterfest or
Uh-huh.
whatever the next one's going to be, how do you recoup your costs from that? Because that can't be a cheap thing to do.
No, no. Well, look, we've been kind of fortunate in that, I mean, the first Metal for Africa show, we didn't call it Summerfest or Winterfest back then, but the first show was in 2007.
Right. So you've been
Um,
going for quite a while then. Jeepers.
yeah, dude. And we've been doing them very consistently since then. So we've never actually missed a date. Even with COVID, we've never missed a date.
Yeah.
So in terms of our model for sustainability, we've kind of, how do I say, like we take a very conservative approach. I always work with a very careful budget, and I always make decisions informed on data from the previous event.
Right.
So when I say data from previous event, I'm kind of talking about attendance numbers,
Right.
prices charged, people's attitudes and commentary about
Yeah.
prices charged,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. So I've often actually had venue owners saying, you guys must up your ticket prices. But I've often had people, people coming to the show saying, we're so grateful that this event is still affordable.
Yeah.
So it's about walking that like very fine line between like greed and necessity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always felt we should never charge more than we absolutely have to charge.
Yeah.
And we keep it lower cost because I often feel, like Metal for Africa is not a business.
Yes.
We treat our operation on the principles of a not-for-profit operation, and it's
Yeah.
like it's like a community project. It's a community service.
Yeah.
So a lot of our teammates, and I'm talking on the upper levels, like more managerial kind of level people,
Yeah.
none of them get paid for the work put in,
Yep.
not for on the night, nor for the months of preparation. We pay the ground level staff, obviously, like door people, security, and all that
Sure.
stuff. We are not going to rely on volunteers there.
Yeah.
But all in all, we're able to keep the cost of the festival low because we just have some really passionate, dedicated people behind doing it.
Yeah.
So as long as we've got about 350 to 370 paying heads through the door,
Yeah.
we're going to meet budget.
Right.
And I'm strict with budget. And then usually we will get between 450, sometimes peaking at about 500 paid heads. But all of that profit we split between the bands who actually play the show.
Okay. Yep. Of course. Yep.
So again, Metal for Africa is not really taking a percentage or cut.
Yeah.
We have our budget, it's set in stone, and whatever profits get made go towards the artists, because without the artists, there's no festival.
Exactly.
And I take quite a bit of pride in that over the years, we've been one of the events who's from the artist point of view, been a good generator of cash.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's just where we like to be, because I also come from the point of view of being part of the artist camp.
Yeah.
So I think that gives me my sense of direction with making these kinds of decisions. So yeah, like we don't rely on outside finance. A lot of people said get sponsors,
Yeah.
but I've worked with Ramfest and several other organizations over the years who have been to some extent dependent on sponsors. And the trouble with sponsors is they're erratic in their behavior. When you work with big brands, they like feet through their doors move quickly. It's like next year you're working with someone else,
Yeah.
and they don't have the same attitude and mindset towards your agenda as the
Right.
previous staff member did.
Yeah.
So like, my worst nightmare is to grow the festival and then have it collapse. So we're very self-sufficient in terms of funding. Whatever our community cannot afford, Metal for Africa won't offer.
Right.
So it's not to say,
that's good. Yeah.
it's not to say that we can't do something big and hectic and, like groundbreaking, but what happens 6 months later when we can't do that again?
Yeah.
It'll be a big bummer.
Yeah.
So we rather keep a very steady and stable and sustainable.
So how do you do this then for the online stuff? I mean,
We don't know yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's fees. I mean, the bands, pre-record their stuff, and they've got all their overheads and everything like that. So where does Metal for Africa then come into that aspect? In
Look,
terms
it's
of
super
finances?
tough.
Yeah.
It's super tough. This is where we need to find our feet. Like I was saying with the live shows or the physical shows, we had a good 13 years to refine our methods and make sure that everyone was happy. And we achieved that balance quite early on. But at the moment, we're still really just feeling our way around, trying to figure out how to do this. So Winterfest was, let's put it this way, the financing for Winterfest was committed to entirely by me at that time. But me as representative of the true believers, because we do have a membership base, so there is cash flow coming in, which creates a nice little security buffer that Metal for Africa can function, can exist, even if we're not charging tickets, because we have a donor base, not a very big one, not a very lucrative one, but it's bread and butter.
Yes.
So with that funding coming in, I was able to basically bankroll what Winterfest cost, but from a Metal for Africa and infrastructure point of view. And then I also had a bit of private help from certain individuals who approached and said, well, look, let's donate $1,000 here or $2,000 there.
Right. Okay.
Which was pretty damn nice, because in the end, it didn't cost me all that much, even though I'd made that commitment. Summerfest, from a Metal for Africa point of view, we hosted a few fundraiser events late last year, with the social distancing and all that jazz, tickets only, blah, 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 blah. Those were able to raise our funds for infrastructure.
Right.
Now, here's the real crunch, the real question. How do we make the bands money? And our experiment for, like Winterfest was like, guys, this is more humanitarian effort, If you have content, if you want to make content, submit it, we'll broadcast it. But for Summerfest, it's kind of like, well, this is what we're going to be doing. We would like to try and find a way to monetize it for bands. But I think the idea of putting a pay gate for people to come and watch, I think that's a cuck idea, my opinion.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just think it's a cuck idea. The reason why is because I do believe that from our physical events, we've learned over the years that if you're charging too much for something, less people come. And those who can afford it, if they come, they generally spend their money to those who need it. So at the physical events, we've kept our ticket prices low so that we get more people there. But the people who can afford merch, they buy merch.
Yeah.
So our attitude with this is the people who can afford to donate or buy from the bands, we would ask them to please strongly consider doing so.
Right. Okay.
Ideally, we would have had our watch parties all around the country. Those would have been purely to raise funds for the artists. But, that carpet has been pulled from under our feet.
Right.
So that's a bit of a bummer. So at this stage, we have to fall back to our Winterfest philosophy, which was like, guys, come everybody. But those of you who are in a fortunate position, because let's face it, a lot of people, myself included, lockdown has hit us, financially speaking, very hard.
Yeah. I'm in that boat too.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
I see you over there. We've only got one ore. We're fucked.
Yeah, pretty much. So from my point of view, to put a pay gate on something during a time where we need each other more than ever, it's just a bad idea.
Yeah. No,
but that's a personal opinion.
Yeah.
It's a personal opinion.
Yeah, I just thought maybe there was a way of doing like you want to come in, it's whatever you can afford, that kind of thing. Donate.
Yeah. I would kind of like to implement like a sort of a VIP ticket. But we're really struggling with what do we give people as a perk to that VIP ticket.
Yeah,
we haven't quite
tricky.
Worked that out yet. But in the future, that's a definite idea, so that some people can buy a ticket, but then they must get certain benefits for it. So at the moment, we're asking people who would like to financially support to buy merch from the bands, order a Metal for Africa t-shirt.
Yep.
If you can afford to, spend your money with us. And when I say with us, I don't mean just Metal for Africa, but all of the bands participating too.
Yeah.
Spend some money with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Because without the bands, this wouldn't happen. So, and without Metal for Africa, it wouldn't happen. So, I mean, that's really important to get that in. And that's 30th of Jan on Twitch and Discord. Summerfest 21. What are the True Believers? We just touched on it briefly.
Yeah. All right. So True Believers is something which I started in 2012 already. Because I must admit, the earlier years of Metal for Africa, it was just a hobby and it was a lot of good fun. But the needs and the demands on me to keep this thing going and growing got a bit intense. So it was starting to dig into my personal life a lot, and my and my at that time career. It takes a lot of time and effort each day to do what this organization demands.
Yeah.
So I decided at that time to find an alternative income stream so that I could take a more part-time or freelance role in my professional life of that time.
Right.
And so True Believers was just a little club where people can subscribe, a monthly donation, and as thanks for that, they would get VIP access at Summerfest and Winterfest. And if they were not Cape Town based, we did have for a couple of years partnerships with other events in the country.
Oh, okay.
But a lot has changed over time.
Obviously.
Especially now. So it's actually kind of tragic because True Believers has also taken a huge hit since COVID came. But because a lot of the people who support Metal for Africa are living on reduced incomes at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to cut where you can to survive, and that's paramount.
That's it. But the other perk I would be doing for True Believers is, because it's a monthly donation, I would do things like when international metal bands came to South Africa, like Iron Maiden and Ministry and those kinds of acts.
Yeah.
I would offer to members that, because when these bands come, people are always in a panic. What if I don't get my Golden Circle ticket? Cash flow is always a problem. And it gets announced and there's this mad rush. And it's all very emotionally brutal.
Yeah.
Unlike the average, passionate metalhead.
Yeah. No, I feel it.
Yeah. So
I don't have a job, so I feel it, man. I'll tell you.
Yes. So with True Believers, I would basically tell people, don't stress. When these announcements come, I will secure tickets, right up front. I'll secure those tickets. You can then pay them off as part of your membership. Just, we inflate the figure over, 2 or 3 or 6 months. It depends on the cost of the ticket. Iron Maiden was literally the biggest single transaction I've made in my life.
Jeez.
When I bought all those Golden Circle tickets, were
How many did you
frantic. Buy? In the end, close to 100.
Fuck me.
Golden Circle. It was cuck expensive.
Are you fucking nuts? Jeez.
But I definitely had to dig into my overdraft for that.
Wow.
but having the security of that cash flow, I didn't mind digging into overdraft because within I don't even think I paid any interest on that because I could float it soon enough.
Yeah.
But it was quite staggering, having to go and do that. But it's such a great memory too. It's such a great story. It's the most money I've ever spent in a single transaction was for Iron Maiden.
Was it was this all at one gig or was it over several gigs?
Well, it was for Cape Town and for Joburg.
Okay, so did all the members, the True Believers, all get together beforehand? It's hey, let's go have a bit of a party?
Not necessarily, no, because the membership is quite distributed. It's not like a lot of the members don't necessarily insinuate that they want to be known as a True Believer.
Right.
It's not something that they do for public glory.
Right.
Necessarily.
Gotcha. You should make one of those denim jacket patches, man.
Yeah.
True Believers.
I actually want to do that because we're coming on 10 years.
Oh, there you go. You see now. Shit,
and
I'm tempted to get involved.
but there's actually certain people who've been members from day one,
Wow.
and I really want to like
Give them a special
give
patch,
them
man.
proper gratitude. So
Yeah.
like they will definitely get something rad next year.
Wow, that's awesome. Man. And how do we get to be a true believer?
Well, you get in touch with Patrick Davidson, man.
Who's this fella that everybody's talking about? Huh? Right,
and then I
okay.
help you out from there. Because look,
Okay.
I'll be very honest with like what it's about. It's True Believers is not directly linked to Metal for Africa.
Right.
It's directly linked to me.
Right.
Like I say, Metal for Africa is a voluntary organization.
Yeah.
I also volunteer myself to service Metal for Africa. I don't get paid a salary for the time and effort that I put into that. I don't take percentages from revenue generated and so on and so forth. So True Believers is the way that the community can keep me working for Metal for Africa.
Gotcha. Right.
To like put it bluntly.
Yeah.
So by donating to True Believers, you're effectively putting bread on my table.
Right. And that's important.
So it's kind of like a Patreon. Just Patreon didn't exist when I started this. So
maybe you should start a Patreon.
probably should.
I've got a Patreon, man. I've got one subscriber, and it's RSA Rock and Metal Fans Facebook page, and they pay $1.
I was listening to that podcast last week.
$1 a month, dude. That
Yeah.
Yeah. I need about 50 people to make it worth my while. Do you think 50 people got $1? No, that's amazing. People can't even afford $1. That's the scary thing.
Well, I think the benefits of Patreon is that you can appeal to a more globalized audience.
Yeah.
Whereas the system I use for True Believers, it's strictly South African.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
It runs through our local banking system and so on.
Yeah.
But like that's the other thing I've learned with this whole online mission now is that like T-shirts. People are starting to order T-shirts from like other countries, and I wasn't actually ready for that.
I saw you put a post up about posting to Europe. Yeah, that's great.
Yes,
people are buying a lot of merch. I've noticed a lot of people buying merch.
Yeah, because they're also not going to festivals at the moment, physical ones. So like they, those who have been fortunate that their incomes aren't impacted. Right. A lot of those people actually have a bit of extra money to burn right now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I mean, think about what they're saving on going to gigs and people. It's not just going to a gig; it's like the drinks, the gig, the merch, and everything.
Like travel to get there.
Travel, yeah. Sometimes people stay over. Shit. Yeah, that's the way it works. But let's touch on briefly, because we are going to have a separate podcast about your band Mind Assault. Now, when did this begin? What's the history of Mind Assault?
Yeah, no. How old are you?
I'm nearly 50, man. Don't knock me yet.
I hit 40 this year. No, sorry, 2020. I hit 40 a couple of months ago. But Mind Assault started when I was 23. So yeah, that's 2003. But we weren't called Mind Assault yet. We actually played 2 shows as an unnamed band in 2003. But that was during a time where some of our members, still the guys who formed the proper band with us, but they were still kind of finding their feet. Did they want to be in the UK earning pounds on working visas?
Right. Okay.
Some of us who wanted to study were still doing that. So 2003 just wasn't a good year to start as a band, but we were a band already.
Yeah.
But 2004 was when we chose a name and got on the gigging circuit. So yeah, we've been around a while.
And why the comeback now? Because you guys have been really, really quiet.
Yeah, life, man.
Summerfest, Winterfest. Hello, people.
Yeah. No, but just real life all around.
Yeah.
We've reached those stages of our lives. Like I say, I hit 40 just last year. And, it's that stage of life where we have a lot more responsibilities, a lot more financial responsibilities.
Suck?
Yeah, it does a bit. So unfortunately, band life has slipped a few rungs on the ladder of priority.
Right.
But we still love it. Metal still burns fiercely in our hearts.
That's very good to hear. But you've got a new album coming out.
Yeah. Took 10 bloody years to make the thing.
When? People want to know when, Patrick. Come on.
Yeah. So we were actually supposed to launch it in May 2020 with
Wow.
a tour.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, fuck that then.
And we played we played Summerfest last year as a physical show, which
Right.
was kind of our supposed to be our comeback after 3 years of no shows.
Yeah.
And to get the momentum going for like a very, very, very active year,
Dang,
which
that's
included
perfect.
launching an album.
Yeah.
So we just had to get through Summerfest, and me personally, I had to get through Ramfest because I was on the staff for that. And Ramfest
Oh.
also made a comeback in
Wow.
2020. And yeah, like I feel quite privileged to have been invited back onto that team because it's different owners.
Right. Okay. Yes.
I worked for several years with the previous owners, but old Marcus from Class, he called me up and said, we want Metal for Africa involved again. So for me, it was just to get Ramfest behind us and then unleash the Mind Assault machine.
Right.
But, lockdown came 1 week after Ramfest.
Oh.
So,
Ouch.
and then
timing, you suck.
Yeah, no, it was a bitch, man. So the rest of 2020 was just trying to keep Metal for Africa afloat.
Yeah.
So the Mind Assault album launch, we're going to be introducing unheard material at the coming Summerfest.
Yes, I noticed you on the bill. Nice.
And then we'll launch the full album, like pretty much immediately after that.
Okay,
We
great.
just want to use Summerfest as a chance to let people hear some new material for the first time ever.
Oof,
Nice.
nice.
And hopefully just make it really cool.
Nice.
And then they can have at the album. We'll put it up on Spotify and Bandcamp and everywhere else.
Everywhere else,
They can have at it.
Yeah, good man. Good man.
Yeah,
So when did the
like
metal
tour-
bite you, Patrick? That's the question. When did the metal first bite you?
Yes, so I think when I was like a early teenager, I was a lot more open-minded to different genres. It's like 13, 14 years old. I was listening to metal already, but I won't say it had bitten me proper.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, I was listening to a lot of other stuff as well.
Right.
I hadn't really found my passion yet. But I think the passion bit me when I was 16, and I heard the first metal band that actually spoke to my soul.
And who was that?
And that was Paradise Lost.
Draconian. What's it called? Draconian.
That was the
25th.
album, man.
There we go. First
That
time I
was the
heard it
album.
was yesterday. Can you believe
Really?
it? Yep.
Dude, that album changed my life.
Damn.
But to a lot of people, that's not even really metal. You know what I mean? But I think for me at that stage of my life, that was the album where metal as a concept took center stage. I mean, I'd always been listening to metal. I remember listening to like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and even Slayer and like more extreme stuff
Yeah.
as a flippin' 10-year-old, man. But it was just more of the good stuff, which was a lot of everything. Like I was listening to the grunge movement was a big part of my youth. I was listening to the rock and roll bands like AC/DC and Guns N' Roses, but I didn't really have my vibe until Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
And from that moment,
was
so
it.
much other music just melted away into the shadows and meant nothing anymore. And so the dark path commenced.
And then we have it.
Yeah.
Dude, I have to say, and I have to thank you for taking almost an hour out of your day to chat to me about this sort of stuff. And people are getting no more Mind Assault. Don't worry, we are going to have a podcast with Patrick and whoever else is able to join. We are going to go into great depth about Mind Assault, and hopefully I'll be able to hear some new music from Mind Assault and everything. But Patrick, are you going to be on the Sammers this year?
What do you mean on the panel?
Yeah.
No. I actually am involved in the Sammers
Right.
already since 2016.
Okay.
Metal for Africa is what we call the independent observer.
Okay. Gotcha. Right.
So you have the organizer, who is Sash and her team up
Right.
in Joburg. Then you have the panel, which are nominated members of the community. I believe you're in the runnings for that.
I have been approached. Yes, the breaking
Yes.
news. You heard it here first. Yeah.
I heard it somewhere else first. And then you have the independent observer. So my role is to make sure that the letter of the law is adhered to.
Right. Got it.
So you might find that when you do submissions and stuff, if something happens to not be like properly qualified, myself or Claire, who works with me, would be the person to contact you and say, please resubmit, or please reconsider, or please what.
Yeah.
You know, because
You're going to come down
oftentimes-
hard on me, man. We've got to shake
Yeah.
shit up this time in the summers. No, I'm
But
just
the
kidding.
beauty of it is our role is to keep an eye on the organizer as well. You know, because the letter of the law applies to everybody.
Right.
So yeah, it's quite a demanding role, quite a demanding task.
I've got nothing but time on my hands, man. I'm actually looking into starting a radio station or a show or two.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
actually looking into that with two other partners. It's going to be very interesting. Yeah. So to tie in with the podcast and to tie in with the punk show that's on SME Fusion Radio, thinking about doing my own thing as well and having a couple of live DJs and pre-recorded stuff and everything like that.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm hoping
it's
to
the
get
future, man. It's the future.
That is the way to do it, man. So I'm just
And if you don't get there soon, then there won't be a void left to fill.
exactly
Not too far down the line.
Exactly.
I mean, I sometimes wonder already if the void is not. No, it hasn't reached saturation point yet.
I
It's
don't
not
think
even
so
close.
yet. I mean,
Not even close.
music
but
is
it will.
so like music can be so uplifting and help people,
Yeah.
and it's just a good escapism as well, I think. And
Yeah.
and you can never have enough good radio. There's got to be a good radio station. So
Yeah, absolutely.
rock radio or super rock, I think it's going to be called. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I must say, I spend a lot of my music listening time these days with Spotify. Like I did sign up for a premium account because, I mean,
Same did
from
I.
an ethical
I did
point
exactly
of view and
the
as an
same
artist.
thing, dude. I was sick and tired of those fucking adverts.
Yeah. But, you know, there's a lot of reasons as an artist to have beef with Spotify. But I must confess that as a consumer, it's really a winner, you know,
It
like,
is.
but even though it anticipates very well what I want to hear, sometimes I just get sick of it predicting what I want to hear, and I'd like a human to do that. You know? Or like just throwing something in the mix that like an algorithm can't fathom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I would dig if there's some cool radio shows. I mean, like there are some that I have followed, but I must admit one problem for me as a music consumer is sometimes the time scheduling
Yeah.
of content.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always convenient for me to be online
Yeah.
at those times. So you miss a lot. And I think that's the real challenge for doing the radio thing, is to find what to place when.
Yeah, that's the secret recipe right there. The one DJ that I'm speaking to, he wants to do live stuff. He doesn't like pre-recorded stuff. I prefer pre-recorded as opposed to live stuff. Pre-recorded, I've already said, I've spoken to one of my mates, and he just said, no, go live. And I said, dude, you don't understand. When I want to do my slot in my radio station, I just want to have more music and less talk. And that's it. Just music. It's like kind of like Spotify with a few things here and there.
Yeah.
Not in your face and all sorts of crap. But then again, to survive, you got to look at sponsors. You got to think about where you're going to place your adverts. And
Yes.
But anyway, that's time for a different conversation altogether. Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time
man.
out. Everybody that's listening, Summerfest 21 is on the 30th of January. Twitch, Discord, everything's in the link in the description below, to Metal for Africa, to the Summerfest, to everything that you need to know about what's happening in the metal world. That's where you go to metal4africa.com. Patrick, once again, thank you, man. I really do appreciate you taking that time out. And on the 27th, I hope we're going to have a chat about Mind Assault.
That we are. I'm going to see if I can rope in. No, well, I have already roped in Donovan, our bassist, very charismatic dude.
Awesome.
I'll see if I can pull in at least one other guy as well.
Rad. Awesome, Pat, man. Thanks
we'll
again.
have a good time.
Keep safe and keep well, and we'll chat again soon.
Likewise, my friend.
Alrighty.
Cheers for now.
Cheers, brother.
Bye.